Hello, YouTubers. How are you all doing? It is the beginning of a new week, 2 days before Christmas. It is Monday, December 23rd, 2019. Warm greetings from the high 10. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you. I wanted to bring you all a little bit of information before the holiday season, before Christmas rather. And this information is pertaining to Camille McKinney case and Patrick Stallworth and Dericka Brown, who are facing capital murder in the kidnap and murder of Miss Camille McKinney, aka Cupcake. And I want to start off by giving you some information that I Googled because I would like to always bring a reference to any said situation scenario that I can, because sometimes we talk about certain subject matters and you don't have the full detail of what the crime is, what the crime consists of, the punishment, So I wanted to bring you all this. But this video is going to be about evidence and what to expect during the upcoming court trial with Patrick Stallworth and Dericka Brown. And I want to read you some information here about capital punishment and the definition of capital punishment. Capital crimes. This is information that I Googled. The following kinds of murder are punishable by death in Alabama: murder by the defendant during a kidnapping in the first degree or an attempt thereof committed by the defendant, murder done for a pecuniary or other valuable consideration or pursuant to a contract or for hire. What is capital murder? Murder is the unlawful killing of another person without justification and is considered to be the most serious crime a person can commit. A person committing murder may be sentenced to the harshest of penalties, including spending the rest of his life in prison. Capital punishment is a legal penalty in the U.S. state of Alabama. Alabama has the highest per capita death penalty rate in the country. In some years, its courts impose more death sentences than Texas, a state that has a population 5 times as large. So as you see, I didn't know that Alabama has a high rate of capital punishment cases than the state of Texas. And we all know that Texas is a big state. But what I would like to bring to you besides that definition is a comment that was made by Mr. Eric L. Guster, who is an attorney, and he's been uploading videos lately through Facebook to give you all information about court trials, criminal cases, and the information thereof. Although he is not an attorney in Patrick or Dericka's case, but he gives updates pertaining to just gives you information. And one comment he made that I found very interesting, and I did not know this, he said one of the reasons that the two defendants are facing capital murder is because they committed a crime on federal housing property, which they kidnapped a child from a federal housing development. And I did not know that. Never knew that. So that is a little bit of information for you guys. But let's get into the evidence pertaining to Patrick Stallworth and Dericka Brown. We both know that, we all know, that Patrick went to court first 2 weeks ago, and he gave his statement pertaining to, or rather a detective gave remnants of his statement to the court about what transpired on October 12th. We know that he says he didn't have anything to do with the kidnapping. We know that it was stated that he went to the apartment of Miss Dericka Brown, where obviously he stayed, and said that's when he first saw the child, as if he stumbled upon Miss Camille McKinney. Her version, which was days later on a Friday from the Detective Ross, is that she noticed the child at the jet pep inside of the car, which, as I stated in my previous videos, for those of you who do watch them and follow, both had knowledge thereof thereafter, before the child's death. So I'm saying that I do believe that Patrick Stallworth and Dericka Brown are both complicit in the kidnapping and murder of Camille McKinney. What is the baffling part is what actually transpired with the child inside of the home. Now, naturally, evidence was taken from the home, from the child. It has been stated that DNA was found under Camille's fingernails, which belonged to Mr. Stallworth. It was also revealed that DNA belonging to both adults, Patrick and Dericka, and Miss Camille, were in blood found on a plastic mattress covering. So that also puts Camille there in that home apartment, inside the bed, on the bed, point blank. But what happened with Camille? As I stated in the previous video, it has been alleged that no findings were found by the medical in the medical report by the coroner that any sexual assault took place, but one can use their imagination to think that something transpired due to Miss Dericka's statement that was given by the detective that she saw him forcing the child to perform oral sex upon him. So I'm going to go with the fact that something did transpire with Mr. Stallworth and Camille, and I would not doubt if Mr. Dericka took place. We don't know, because that is the thing. When you have two people who are involved in a crime, each has decided now to turn on one another. And naturally, it has been stated in cases of others being involved in a crime, whoever hollers the loudest first gets the plea deal. But as you see, there is no plea in this. Both are facing capital murder. For some of you who are confused about a plea deal, she's not getting a plea that I know of, and I hadn't heard that one was given. But I also want to talk about the young ladies that were approached by Stallworth and Dericka before Camille's abduction. Okay, allegedly these two approached two 11-year-old girls at a school nearby the Tom Brown housing development, and Mr. Stallworth, let the young lady know that you are what I'm looking for. Well, to me, that shows pattern, if indeed that conversation took place. My understanding is that there is video of he and Dericka at the school, pitter-pattering around. So if he said that to that child, that leads me to believe that he is a pedophile. He has been fantasizing about children and or has been exacting crimes against children. As I state in previous videos, there has not been any record of Mr. Stallworth in any deviant crimes pertaining to a sexual nature on file. His previous arrests were pertaining to marijuana. One was dismissed. So actuality, he only has one case, criminal case, and that is dealing with the possession of marijuana. No deviant sex crimes, theft, yah. But we all know that because someone does not have a record does not mean he or she is not out committing crimes, felonious crimes. They just have not been caught, and or they could have paid someone off during court or settlement. All type of things go bump in the night. We learn that with famous people. A lot of cases get pushed on the rug because they pay the people off. I'm not saying that's what has happened with Mr. Stallworth. I'm just giving an example why you don't hear of said crimes with certain people. Okay. What is to transpire in the next upcoming month or so pertaining to these two heathens? Well, we know there will be a lot going on. What evidence will arise? Because we've already seen DNA being introduced. He said, she said. But who's going to testify? I'm curious to that. Who is going to give an eyewitness account of seeing Mr. Stallworth and Dericka with the child on the property of Tom Brown? Thereafter, Tom Brown, was she seen Miss Camille with Dericka and Stallworth at a store at the apartments complex? It has been revealed in a video that has circulated on YouTube that a young lady's sister saw, allegedly, the child with them. Is that true or not? We can believe that it could be true only because her DNA was found there at the apartment. Will she testify? Will that young lady testify to where she actually saw Miss Camille? Was it at the apartment or elsewhere? Someone mentioned a store. I do not know. As I state, I will not testify to anything that I don't have any proof of or verification thereof, but just throwing that out there in case you all have heard the same thing. Okay, will there be more evidence? Because naturally, when they start talking about said crime, as you see, two hearings have occurred with each represented separately. And of course, the trials are separate because she gave a statement against Mr. Stallworth. So that's what led to her having a separate trial now from Mr. Stallworth, because she gave a different account, or an account which separates the two in being tried together. Let me make a note of that to you all. What other evidence will be revealed? Because as I stated, we just got a synopsis of DNA under Camille's fingernails on her left hand belonged to Stallworth. DNA and blood that was found on the mattress covering belonging to all two suspects and the child. And so now I'm curious to what other evidence will be revealed, because in your mind, some people have been questioning that, leaving their comments below like, well, what else could there be? And why don't they just, say what they did? And, I guess to some of you feeling like they should take a bench trial, just let the judge render them a judgment since they know they're guilty. But that's the point. They are acting as if the other participant is the sole killer of the child, so therefore they have to go to trial. Now, I have no idea what other evidence is going to be relayed. I don't even know how long it's going to take place, both trials. I'm praying that it is not winded, so therefore people can move on with their lives and get on with the living. Because unfortunately, this child is no longer with us, and it just carries on the burden of hearing more, intimate and graphic details of a child's situation, of how she got to be discovered, and on and on. And we all know that can be very daunting, hearing that more than once in trial one, then boom, you got to hear it all over again in trial two. But one thing I want to top off this video with is, naturally, we'll probably hear more evidence. We'll probably hear more testimony from eyewitness accounts. We'll probably also, the topper, is hear from Miss April Thomas, because I'm assuming the state or the defense attorneys will call her in to testify of her whereabouts on October 12th and what she did on October 12th. And there's no way I can believe that they would not ask her to testify to her whereabouts and the timeline of where she was and what she was doing at Tom Brown, what she did that day, what time she arrived there, what was the child doing allegedly, which we already know. She can't really tell us what the child was doing, because that has not been verified by Miss Thomas, what Miss Camille was doing. All we have is a grainy video account of a child and two children, small children, playing outside near a basketball court, and both were led away by the suspects. But I am looking forward to hearing that, because I don't think a lot of you even thought about that. You've been wondering and wondering, what was the truth? What actually happened? What did she do, didn't do? Okay. Why hasn't she given a timeline? Because she has yet to say, I got there at this time. I did this at this time. I went out to look for the child, which was a version given. And then also there's a version of a child being sent to look for Miss Camille. So what is the truth? And I guess you all didn't even think that the state and or the defense attorneys for both defendants will call her to the stand to give an account of what she did on October 12th and give a timeline to the disappearance of Camille McKinney. And what I find interesting is this: God have mercy on you if your version is different than what you gave the police on October 12th. Because as you see, we don't know what she said to the police on October 12th. We have never been afforded that opportunity, because as you see in these types of cases, they give you what they want. The police department, they don't tell you everything. They don't tell you if a lie detector was administered to both parents. They don't tell you if a lie detector test was administered to those who are allegedly eyewitnesses and saw the child abducted or seen with the suspects or any other said information. But I am curious to who all is going to be an eyewitness. The girl who threw the party, the people who attended the party, people who sat out watching the children play, who can verify that Camille was outside playing that day, anyone who can say that they saw her at the court that day, anyone who could say they saw her anytime that day. It should be a very interesting show. And I am truthful to say, in my words to you, I don't know what to expect, but that is probably the one testimony that I look forward to hearing. It's the mother giving an account of October 12th. And if it differs from the two versions that we have heard here recently in the past month and a half, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And as I stated, I'm also wondering if grown-ups gave an account to the police of seeing Camille getting into the SUV, or was it just a child or children who gave an account? See, all those eyewitnesses, if there are more than one or two, I am curious to that information, and I'm sure most of you all are. And as I stated, I'm sure most of you did not even think about, oh, wow, we never got an account. We still don't really know, what time the child got there, how long she was out there, blah, blah, blah. Well, you probably will once she is summoned to court and has to testify, because I can't see this either case of the defendants going forward without the mother's account of what she did that day. And I think most of you are curious, so that is something I'm looking forward to. And that is basically my update. Oh, no. Wait a minute. There's something I wanted to bring to you all about capital murder. The assumptions. Excuse me. I'm rushing the gun a little bit. Naturally, you all still have assumptions, innuendos of who you think still may be involved, because as I stated, some of you are still on the whim of other participants being involved because of said conversations made on social media and the news, because someone could not keep their mouth closed and they implicated themselves by the words they spoke. But as I told you all, sometimes you can speak in haste and talk out of turn and may not have been involved, but you made yourself look bad by speaking. The father, you all know who I'm talking about, because as I stated, there have been no more arrests or indictments of anyone else pertaining to Camille McKinney's death, kidnapping, and death. But you all still have lingering thoughts. I still hear and see the commentary below in the comment section and on other channels and said informations. But I want you all to check out A&E Network. Marsha Clark, who prosecuted the case of Nicole Simpson Brown, the O.J. Simpson trial, the death of Nicole Simpson, and O.J. was the defendant. Well, she now has done a documentary with A&E, and she's done a couple of episodes investigating old crime cases. And one of the cases on there is of Casey Anthony, and I want you all to listen to me very carefully, because I'm going to tie it into this case here. There was enough evidence, just what I saw the other day, recapping, that looked like Casey Anthony committed the crime. Looked like. Way more than what we have in this situation here. The laundry bag, the sheet she was wrapped in, the Winnie the Pooh sheet, the duct tape over the mouth, all linking back to the said house. But yet 12 members saw fit to get her off and vote her not guilty of the said crime, although that child was last in her custody, last seen with her. But yet the lawyer, her defense attorney, made it appear that it could have been anybody in her household that killed the child. Implicated the father. Nasty rumors of child molestation came up from her childhood, allegedly, which I didn't believe. I didn't, because the first thing I thought of is, if the father had, why would she have her child around the said man? She wouldn't stay in the house with him with her child. Why would she do that? I believe there was implications of the brother being involved. Implication that the child drowned and the father panicked. But like as the detective said, he's a cop. He's a former cop. Why wouldn't he just call 911? That's a main death in the state of Florida pertaining to children, accidental drowning. So if she accidentally drowned in the pool, you weren't watching her, she went through the gate, let's say, it was an accident. Why wouldn't he call 911? Why such a grand scheme of hiding her in the woods, wrapping her in a Winnie the Pooh sheet and laundry bag which matches your other baskets in your house? Who would do that? The fact that there was smell of death in her car. Several eyewitnesses gave that account that worked and did the DNA testing. Said they knew when the car came in, it was the smell of death. And one lady said, "Oh, we got a death car arriving." Do you see what I'm saying? Because they work with dead people every day, corpses, and they would know the smell versus a outsider who does not know. But yet, 12 members found her not guilty. And as I've stated, it takes only one person to get a person off vote against not guilty vote. Okay? Or a guilty vote. That's all it takes is one. Sway the jury. Reasonable doubt, and that's what her lawyer put before the jury. He gave them different scenarios and different people who could have murdered the child, even implicating the utility worker that he could have done it. He's the one who discovered the body. So you see where I'm going with this. Because of the assumptions pertaining to this child's death, because of all the hoopla that ran amok on social media and still running amok amongst people who think others are involved, that's all it will take is for one or two people on that jury panel to think others are involved and sway this guilty vote. Now, I don't know if they would vote not guilty on either or both, but what I'm saying is imagine said people who think others are involved, that it's a setup, that it's this, still having those thoughts even after seeing the evidence that has been brought out here recently, and they are one of the jury members. You see what I'm saying? Holding up progress, holding up the justice system, holding up justice for this child on innuendos and gossip. And as I stated, I thought by now, if there were others involved, that they would be arrested. And maybe there are, I cannot say. But I'm just saying with the timeline, you would think by now others would have been arrested in this case. And I bring up the Casey Anthony story because everything looked like someone did that to her, which was the mother. That is the somebody. And 12 members voted not guilty. And that thing is walking around free today when the odds were stacked. The lies, the numerous lies she told, so many. Lying about the job, whereabouts, the fake nanny, all that. And who would do that? What reason would she have? So that's all I wanted you all to think about. Check that out on A&E, Marsha Clark, investigating the Casey Anthony story. And I thought of that story pertaining to this one. You never know what can sway the jury. And reasonable doubt is one of those things. And as I stated, with all the innuendos still floating amok, all it takes is that one person to say, I think otherwise. This is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas, everybody. Like, share. Be mindful of your surroundings. Mind the little ones. And you all take care. Bye-bye.